I was going through a lot of personal growth. And one night when because I would meditate first thing in the morning and right before I go to bed, all of a sudden I'm meditating and I'm seeing a cover of a book and it has my name on it and it says Perfect Pictures. And I was like, wow, okay, that was a visual. And I saw the pages turning. Okay, that was interesting. Went to sleep. 1:05 in the morning, I woke up. It was as if someone was whispering in my ear. First sentence, first paragraph. I mean, just first chapter. It was just, and I'm listening to it, going, okay, I'm aware that this is a higher consciousness, this is a different consciousness, because I don't have that information. And so I got up and just took pen to paper and just started writing what I was hearing. And then my hands started taking off. And it was like, I couldn't, this hand would sometimes turn the pages. I was like, I don't know what is happening. So that happened. And then I went to sleep, didn't even think about it. I woke up the next morning, got my tea, saw I'm mad about you, went into my office and was reading. And I'm like, what? Oh yeah, that happened. 7 nights in a row that happened.
Welcome in. I'm Kimberly. I'm so glad you're here today. And I tell you, I cannot wait for this conversation. I think you guys are going to love it. If you're enjoying this content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. And if you'd rather listen than watch, you can now find us on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, all the podcast platforms. Just type in Journey to the New Earth and you'll find us there. Last thing, if you want to keep track of what's going on around the planet, but it feels a little overwhelming, and I don't blame you, you might want to sign up for a Friday morning email newsletter. The link is in the description box down below. Every Friday morning, we send out a very short, very sweet, but we feel informative newsletter containing information that we think is pertinent to the journey that we're all on here at Earth. It's super free, super fun, super informative. Link is in the description box down below. I think you're going to love it. Have I told you how much I love Jupiter CBD oil? A few years back, I started waking up with stiff and sore joints. As a matter of fact, I'd have to actually crack my hands to get them working in the morning. I was really concerned because I had seen my mother and grandmother both suffer from debilitating arthritis, particularly in their hands. I went on a journey to find a more natural remedy for my stiff and sore joints and landed on CBD oil. That became a years-long quest to find a good formula that was consistent, that didn't taste horrible. And I'll tell you what, I am almost a consumer expert of CBD oils at this point. Luckily, a few years ago, I found Jupiter CBD oil and I couldn't be more thrilled. What I've experienced is very consistent quality, a very mild taste, and a good effect on my joints. I actually take this every night before bed. Jupiter CBD oil is sustainably sourced from organic ingredients, and the company itself is just wonderful. They have a heart for their products and a heart for their customers. Featuring 4 different formulas, including one for your pets, I take the Dreamland every night before bed. I sleep like a baby. My joints are fluid, pain-free, and very, very flexible. I really couldn't be happier with my results. Jupiter offers free shipping, free returns, 100% money-back guarantee, and I'm telling you, the best customer support system on the planet. I'm not kidding you one little bit. In addition, they now feature gummies and capsules, so make sure that you look over their entire product line when you're on the Jupiter website. I love Jupiter. It's a nice, small company, which I really appreciate. Visit getjupiter.com and use the code NEWEARTH for 20% off your entire order. Great sleep, less stress, fewer aches. Jupiter CBD oil. I think you're gonna love it. And with that, I want to welcome in my exciting guest, New York Times best-selling author and channel, Christy Whitman. How are you,
Hello.
Christy?
Hi, Kimberly. I know we were chatting before and we were having a really great discussion. So I'm glad that we get to include everybody else in the discussion now too.
I know we
Yeah.
were taking off so quick that I just wanted to go on and on and on, and then we had to stop. Like, oh, we've got to do a video now. So here we are. First of all, let's start from the beginning with you. Why don't you kind of take us through your spiritual journey? I'm sure that you did not start out as a channel for a collective. I imagine that you were just like a normal high school girl like the rest of us.
Well, yeah,
Maybe, maybe not.
yeah, no, I went, yeah, I grew up, Italian American family, very Catholic, went through all the sacraments except for getting married. And, that was what I knew. And I had found myself, I had graduated college. I moved to Chicago, and I had really put a lot of focus in on a career, and I was doing great and I had a lot of success. And as well as I was engaged and all these things. And I had never been in my life ever depressed. And at this moment, I even had my best friend that has known me all my life say, okay, this is supposed to be the happiest time of your life. And I've never seen you more miserable. So I had a moment of like, well, I thought all these things were the things that were supposed to make me happy. And, like all the things on the checklist. And when I really started looking, if it's not all of this, what is it? That's when I started asking the questions. And I really started going back to church. And I'm like, those answers aren't here for me personally. And that's when it just a beautiful, sequence of events that brought me to Northern California. And I met a woman who was a hairdresser, and I'm just watching her talk, and she was super confident and very light. And I didn't have that language back then though, but she had it. And I was like, when the woman in When Harry Met Sally, I'll have what she's having, right? I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, Janine, what do you do? And she knew exactly what I meant. She goes, I meditate. And I'm like, meditate. I mean, I was just a, middle class girl, Italian American, Scottsdale, Arizona, never thought of anybody. So the idea of somebody meditating, it was like some old guy with, white hair with a long beard in the oming position, sitting in a cave somewhere, and here's this like hip San Ramon, hairdresser, hair stylist, I guess that they're called now. And, who was married and had a cool dog. And I was like, what? It's just like, it was such a disconnect. So I went to, and I called her meditation teacher. And I'll never forget this moment because I walked up to her house. It was at a house. And when I walked in, it was a lot of new age music playing, and there's a lot of angel statues and incense and candles, and a big fat cat, huge cat. I've never seen a cat that big, named Steve, that was just purring all over me. And she had me sit down on a cushion in the middle of a room. And she sat me down, and she didn't say anything for a while. She just kind of looked deep into my eyes, like felt like she was into my soul. And she said to me, all of a sudden, after, a while, she said, you create your own reality. And when she said that, it was like, yes, I do. How? So the bigger me stepped forward and said, finally, right? And then the little me was like, but wait, how? And so it was another one of those moments where she said to me, by your thoughts, you either attract things to you or you repel things from you based on the way you think. And in that moment, she couldn't go any further because my mind was just like, the way I think. I thought it was my thoughts. I believed everything my thoughts said, including the negative ones. I didn't know that I was separate or different from them. And any of us that go through that awakening of what? I mean, it's not true that I'm not enough. That's just a thought, whoa, that thought can be changed. And so she said to me, I don't want you to do anything. I want you to go home. We're going to make another appointment in a week. I just want you to be aware, just pay attention to the thoughts that run through your head. And okay, sounds fine to me, right? Make another appointment. I'm walking by a mirror, and it was like I was bombed with negativity and criticism. I mean, I thought my mom was good. I'm 10 times better. I like my mom on steroids. It was from hair to I mean, with the way I was dressed, my height, my weight, just and it was just this awareness of all these negative thoughts. And it's like, wait a minute, but that's not me. I get to choose those thoughts. So that was my start. That was my awakening. And I started to meditate, and I started to really get involved in, connecting with my guides, and, seeing my meditation teacher regularly, and doing classes with her. And I just immersed myself. And it was the time when the internet wasn't around. So, I would go to bookstores and far off places, or I would try different like religious science churches. And one day, Terry Cole Whitaker, who was still is a New Thought minister, she came to the Reading Church of Religious Science where I was living. And this woman had so much passion. And I just couldn't, I was like, I don't have that passion. Like, she's passionate. Where she get all this passion, And so she had this workbook to sign a contract with yourself, that my abundance no longer comes from the outer world. It comes from the inner world. And that was a big, okay, I'll sign it. 2 weeks later, I was asked to resign from my company that I was a pharmaceutical rep for, that I was #1 in the district. I was asked to resign with full benefits, with about 3 months off. I'd been working since I was 14 years old, so I'd never, ever been without a job. So this 3 months was all about self-care. And I would sleep in, and I would go work out when I wanted to. And I would do things to go get a job. But money kept coming in. It was like benefits I didn't even know, checks and I was like, okay. So I would go and, go to lunch with a friend, or go get a facial. I remember waking up and nobody being in the house, and going and watching replays of Mad About You, grab my tea. And that was like my morning ritual after I like meditated and all that. It was so juicy. And during that time, I was going through a lot of personal growth. And one night, because I would meditate first thing in the morning and right before I go to bed, all of a sudden I'm meditating, and I'm seeing a cover of a book, and it has my name on it, and it says Perfect Pictures. And I was like, wow, okay, that was a visual. And I saw the pages turning. Okay, that was interesting. Went to sleep. 1:05 in the morning, I woke up. It was as if someone was whispering in my ear. First sentence, first paragraph. I mean, just first chapter. It was just, and I'm listening to it, going, okay, I'm aware that this is a higher consciousness, is a different consciousness, because I don't have that information. And so I got up and just took pen to paper and just started writing what I was hearing. And then my hands started taking off. And it was like, I couldn't, this hand would sometimes turn the pages. I was like, I don't know what is happening. So that happened. And then I went to sleep, didn't even think about it. I woke up the next morning, got my tea, saw Mad About You, went into my office and was like, and was reading. And I'm like, what? Oh yeah, that happened. 7 nights in a row that happened. And I happened to just reach out to Terry Cole Whitaker, because I'm like, I think I'm writing a book. How do you do that? She said, go find a literary agent online. Again, just starting out on the internet. Like, there was a listing, maybe 3, and I picked the top guy, right? And he accepted my manuscript, and I got my first book published, and started speaking in spiritual bookstores and churches like Terry Cole Whitaker. And people in my workshops were asking me to coach them. And so I had no idea about coaching. I didn't know it even existed, this life coaching thing. And I just leaned into it. I got my certification, and then I continued to coach and help people transform their lives while I was still a pharmaceutical rep and a biotech sales training manager, until finally 17 and a half years ago, I leaped and went full-time into my business, and just kept leaning in, and it led into healing, energy healing, which then led into, me full-on channeling. So it's been quite an amazing journey.
That's a fabulous story. And I think it proves the point that meditation is the gateway drug.
It really is.
It
It
really is.
really, really is. Yes.
And I can't stress enough for those who haven't meditated, freaky things start happening when you start meditating. And I'm not saying what happened to you is freaky, but it
Oh, it's
definitely
freaky.
yeah, a little bit. It's like when that starts happening, you realize I'm not alone here. There's a whole lot going on. So let's
Yes.
back up a little bit. When all this began for you, what happened to your personal life? Did it upend, or were you able to integrate this new you into the direction you'd been heading in?
Both and. So I'm getting choked up because no one's ever asked me that question like that before, Kimberly. And so it was both and, because there was a new me that everybody around me didn't know how to deal with me, because I was super positive and, life's great, and, and things are always working out, and, and I wanted to share what I knew about law of attraction, and, tell everybody and scream it from the rafters, and nobody cared and nobody wanted to talk about it. And, so it felt very lonely with my current support group, and my sister, who was my best friend, and she was 11 years older than me, she really started shutting down, so much so that she committed suicide during that time. So I brought in huge light, and a lot of darkness, if you will, released as well, because she had a lot of mental, and she was a drug addict for years. She was clean at the time when she did that, but it's just, she had a rough go of it. And so that was a turning, pivotal thing that happened as well, because then you have the whole grief on top of it. And it was masterful teaching, because I learned how to process through grief by working with my energy and my emotions, and turning to meditation and energy work, and feeling the guidance, and feeling her even on the other side communicate with me. I have some freaky stories about that, and that just really opened me up spiritually too, because I felt like, I remember once saying to my partner one night, I was like, I just miss my sister talks. And one night I had a dream, and I was on the phone with her for hours in my dream. And I woke up in the morning, I'm like, I'm fulfilled. I don't feel like I miss her. I just had a sister talk,
Mhm.
So it's been an incredible journey. However, I still have my best friend from seventh grade and high school, and college, and I still have those relationships. They just learn to, I know what to say with them, and where, if I mentioned, have you ever tried anything holistic? And one's like, no, it's like, okay, we can respect each other's philosophies and beliefs and way of looking at things. And, it's made us even stronger friends. Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm a mom of two teenage boys. I have a husband that I'm very happily, very much in love with, over, we're going on 18 years being together. And, I love to do Pilates, and I love fashion. As a matter of fact, I own a fitwear store with another friend of mine, so yeah, I'm very much in my life, and I'm normal. I'm a soccer mom, like that's, but yeah, I have this other side where it's fun to integrate it. I remember one time when my son Alex was playing soccer, and the star of his soccer team, who was the main kid that always scored the goals, someone had stepped on his top of his foot with his cleat, so he went hopping off the field. And I just kind of like went, so I kind of sat on the bench with him, and I said, Emilio, would you like me to heal your foot? And he's like, okay. I mean, kids are just like, whatever, sure. Does that get me back in the game? And I'm like, yeah. So I didn't even touch his foot. I was just putting energy and releasing the, shock of the energy that was in the foot. Right. And so kids are so, he goes, I could feel that. And he's looking at me, I could feel that. And you're not even touching me, and I could feel that. And I said, well, how you feel now? And he goes, coach. And coach is looking at him, and he hobbled off. And it was like minutes later, coach, I'm ready. And his coach is like, what? He goes, I'm ready. And so, all right, get back in there. So he gets back in there, kid scores a goal, right? And so all the parents were looking at me like going, what did you do to him? You know, can you do that to our kids? So it's that too. There's the,
Yeah, it's the yes and. I
yeah.
want to back up for a minute. I have a question about that, but I want to back up. If you dove into this head first 17 and a half years ago, that was a lonely journey.
Oh,
It's,
it was before that. I was doing it for myself 28 years ago.
yeah. And today is very different. People
Yes.
are a little more open to energy healing. They're a little bit more open to channeling. But back then, even 5 years ago, was so different. How did you stay true to that path when there really wasn't a lot of apparent support around you from other people who were doing the same thing?
Yeah, well, for me, it was just, it felt so good to, and it would feel horrible not to. That's for me, is that when I kept leaning into doing light work and playing with energy and meditating and, and knowing and understanding about imprints. And, if I had a thought in the middle of the night that came up and just literally woke me up, it's like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, who said that? And it's like, I want to get in, like, who's in my head saying that? And it was a moment of, in the middle of the night, to go, there's nothing wrong with me. I am infinitely loved, and allow myself and any part of myself to feel that feels that there's something wrong with me, to feel that compassion. And like, that's the work I can continue and will forever do. But now I just get to share it, which is great, because then others can benefit from it too. But yeah, I mean, I remember having to go into bookstores, and they would have like a secret section. It was almost like going into a porn shop, right? But it was a secret section of like manifestation books. And, that's what it was like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. It makes me laugh. And you could always tell the right bookstores by the smell. They were always burning incense
Right.
somewhere.
Yeah. And they
You
had
just follow the
crystals.
smell.
They
Yeah,
had crystal. Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about something that you spoke about a little bit, which I think is important, right? Particularly right now on the planet. And that is staying human, embracing the human. And I know that this has been a battle and a challenge for me. I don't want to say battle. It's been something that I've had to work with over the last 10 years. And that is that sure, I can meditate and I can channel and I can really reach out to different realms. But what I'm doing right now is being human. And it's that choice to stay more human that I work with on a daily basis. It's like, where am I at right now? Because I understand the minute I transition out, I'm right back there again.
Yep.
And it's not a struggle and I don't have to meditate, I'm living in it. So
You are it.
obviously,
Yeah.
obviously I made the choice to incarnate into this physical reality, into this meat suit for this experience. So
Yes.
I really am, at least right now, leaning more towards the human. What do I do today as a human? Do I go kayaking? Do I paint? Do I go work out? Do I, read a book? Those are human things.
Yes.
How do you balance that in your life? Because as an active channel, working with a collective, it could be very easy to drift away into that reality and not, and maybe perhaps miss some of the human experience for that time frame. So how do you work with that?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because that was my journey when I first started. It was like, I didn't want to not be meditating. It felt so good to be meditating. All I wanted to do was go on a weekend meditation retreat, or I wanted to be meditating. If I wasn't meditating, I was thinking about meditating. I didn't want to be in the real world because meditating felt so good. And that was my journey for a while. And, it's really interesting when the council came through in 2018, full on first person channeling, like what I do now. One of the first things that they said was that there are no problems. It's only perceptions of problems, right? And that was a really big shift. But the other thing that they said, and they continue to say this all the time, is that we are infinitely loved, So the human parts of us that feel stuck or not good enough, or other people have opinions of, when we really start to practice that and feel like, you know what, no matter what happens, it doesn't mean I get to go be a jerk because I'm infinitely loved. It's not, you don't get to be an excuse to be a jerk because of that. But it's, you're accountable because it feels good to be in alignment with your soul. And that's what's important, is combining both. When the council came through, within a month, they said, okay, this is the first assignment. And they had me take pen, paper, and we created a course called Quantum Energy Mastery. And it was brilliant how they did it, because it was like, what is energy? What are you coming from? Like, what is the wholeness, the oneness? And how do we as a human being utilize this wholeness, oneness, right? What is it? And that's like the whole first module. And then the second module is like, we are like you said, a meat suit. We are a physical being. So how do we then relate with this and other things that are in our third dimensional world, like food, alcohol, water, whatever, things we put in our bodies, things we do with our bodies. And then it's the abundance, the success, the relationships with other people. And that's like the practical, what do you do when you've got a teenage son who has a really bad attitude, or it seems like he could care less with the rest of the world? Or what do you do when you have a father that is transitioning or has passed and now you're grieving? Or what do you do when you're in a business and you want to grow it but you feel stuck? And all of these practical, what do you do when you're in a relationship with someone and this and that, one's negative and someone, there's day-to-day life experiences, but it all comes down to mastering our own energy, being able to be in our physical body, but being able to utilize, being able to connect with, like we said, both, and being able to connect with the non-physical, but while we're present in the physical. So we still get to, it's funny, people have asked me, oh, do you get to have a personal life, or do you get to, have you changed? And I say, I've become more me than ever, because I feel like I'm more free to be me. So I just don't even hold myself back anymore. So I'm more me than I ever have. And the divine loves that. And so it's like, there's this whole partner, there's no resistance in that. There's moments, I'm human after all. But when I'm in this open, receptive place, that's when the councils, like the higher and lower, come together. And that's where we can partner. And so yeah, it's a energy mastery. Think about it this way. I love the council said this. As human beings, there's things that we need to do to take care of ourselves. These physical, suits, like you said, the bio suit, the meat suit, there's things we need to do, right? We get up every morning and we have to go to the bathroom. Most of us have to go to the bathroom, right? And we don't just go to the bathroom once, we have to do that all throughout the day. And we even do that right before you go get to bed. And sometimes we have to do it in the middle of the night too, and there's just things that we need to, like, we need to sleep. We need to sleep. Well, one of the things that we've never talked about or learned is how to master our energy, meaning master and our emotional intelligence. I'm feeling off. There's no reason for me to feel off. Oh, get over yourself. And then we just dismiss ourselves and don't hear ourselves or consider ourselves. And having that consideration for, what am I thinking, paying attention, where are my thoughts, what am I creating now and in the future, because we have to focus on our mental body, that's one of our bodies. Then our emotional body, that's another one of our bodies. How am I feeling good, am I feeling off, where am I at? And do I need some self-compassion? Do I need some self-care? Do I need to, someone's showing me disrespect? Okay, maybe I need to give myself some self-respect a little. Like that barometer into how we relate with our third dimension and the things in it. All of it it's like, if we are grounded in our physical body and then understand what's available, what infinitely loves us and supports us, then the journey here, oh, it's just so unbelievably different.
Yeah, and so it's so exciting, and so
Yes.
I want to say edifying. That sounds, it's just, you just learn so darn much,
Yes.
in this experience. And I know that the challenges create the tapestry that you're going to look back on when you're back out of physical and say, wow, that was really worth it. I learned so very much. So before we bring the council in, which I definitely want to do, I want to check in with you because there is so much going on planet Earth right now, which is why we're having, you know, outside collectives come in to help us through channels, which is why we're getting so much support. And I'm always so grateful that they're so willing to help in such a great way, where they don't just say, do this, they share with us a pattern or a process where we can learn to make those changes and do it ourselves. Because ultimately, as a collective, we have to do this ourselves.
Indeed.
Can you kind of give me, the bird's eye view of where you see us on the planet right now? And what do you see in the next several months unfolding, or what are the hot topics for you on that issue?
Well, for me, obviously, it's like what a lot of people are thinking about is the election. And we just talked about that too, is, who are going to be our future leaders that stand up. And I think the contrast of what has been happening will give birth and will lead to give way to what actually will work and what will feel good. I think that we're on a brink of a collapse of what does not work, thank God. But in order to let go of what doesn't work, there's some pain, there's some resistance. And it's kind of like in childbirth, to give birth, there's a little bit of pain. So there's some shifting of awareness, consciousness, but I think as long as people like you and I that are wanting to make a positive influence in our lives and in others, that if we keep focusing on the vision that we do want to see, that that we want to hold collectively, that we have a strong leader that really has not just self-interest, but everybody's interest, including not just the United States, but the world, the globe. I think that if everybody holds that we're all in this together, one of the things that the council and my dad, when my dad just passed in earlier this year, and the communication, it's like, what's everybody fighting for?
I know everybody's fighting, everybody's cranky.
What's everybody fighting for? It's like, it's supposed to be a
Yeah.
joyful journey.
Yeah. Hey, I think it's just that, what you said earlier is the contrast. It's so bubbling up to the surface. And for me, what I'm seeing in glaring bright lights is systems that don't work.
Yeah.
They just don't work. And they may have been positioning themselves as doing or being something that they're not. And all of a sudden we're seeing the reality of the systems, where it's a governmental system or politics or process or this and that. I feel that we're being hit with the reality of, oh my gosh, this is not what we thought we had.
Well, we know more now. I mean, just look at what we have access to that we didn't before. I mean, we now have information at our fingertips where we didn't have that. When I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, what was fed to you through the 3 stations that was on TV, right?
You had to turn the
Turn
channel.
it. Exactly. You had to get up off your butt and go turn the channel. There's no remote.
I know those were hard days. Those were hard days.
Oh, my son said to me yesterday, he was laying on a raft and he came on the house and I go, how was the pool? And he goes, it was so hard. The raft kept touching the edge and I had to keep putting my hand out and pushing it away. And I was like, wow, nice life. If that's your worst thing that happens to you today, good for you. So, but it's true. It's like, why are we what are we fighting for? And because if everybody found their own alignment, and everybody started focusing on what they really want and really started understanding that you have access. It's not when you go get something or, if that happens or when, someone changes, then you can, when we understand that the power that we have is all right now, because all the energy, everything is energy, all the energy that creates everything is available to us now. It's the substance, it's the source, it's everything here. And then it forms everything that we see in our third dimension. And the more awareness that we all have about that, and then understand how to apply that, there's going to be more and more of us. Okay, Council, they're telling me to say this. In 2020, when everything happened, right? When everything started shutting down and all that kind of stuff, right? I said to the council, I'm like, what gives? What is happening? Why is, and they just simply very, very calmly said, it's an amplification time. And I said, folks, I'm going to need more.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. But I'm like, I'm going to need more, right? Explain. And they said, well, think about it. Those that are lonely and say don't live by themselves and are wanting, say, a partner or a friend or something, it's going to what? Amplify their loneliness. And so they're going to need to make a choice in how to either change the loneliness, escape the loneliness, suppress the loneliness. What are you going to do with that? Are you going to wake up and go, okay, I'm tired of feeling lonely. What do I need to do? Some people, it was money. Some people, it was work. So, some people, it was their families. They got into it with their families and like, I couldn't stand it before. And now, get me out of here. I've been crawling off the walls, right? A lot of divorces happened during a lot of pregnancies happen though too. Let's have some, I like you, let's have some fun, right? So there was a lot of amplification that was happening. It wasn't just bad, it was good. I mean, I was in a place, thank God I've known this for a long time and been practicing it. And when the whole entire world was going into like fear mode, I just went in and went, I refuse to I'm not getting caught up in this whole, the sky is falling, the world is ending. If it ends tomorrow, I've got now to enjoy, and my kids are here, and let's go walk the dog. I mean, it's just a returning back to the life that is here and now. And because none of us have a guarantee that, the big one upstairs could go, you know what, you're all kind of boring me. So I'm just going to do what I did with the dinosaurs. And here you go.
Yeah.
We got now. We're not guaranteed anything.
Yeah. It's so funny you bring up the whole, I call it the kerfluffle. I was thinking back about it, the whole COVID nonsense. In my world, it was nonsense. It happened to all of us, but the experience that people had was different. In other words, and I think that this is an example of how you frame your reality defines your experience.
Well,
and what I did is I started a hiking club. And I made a whole lot of new friends.
I love it.
Because I had moved to a new town and everybody was sitting in their houses, with their little things on. And I thought, well, maybe there's people that wanted to get out like me. And I found them. So
that's awesome.
And the point is that there was some people that really had a miserable experience. There were other people that had a lonely experience. There were other people so it's like we just choose how we're going to experience the same event. And that's one of the gifts that we have here on this planet as humans.
Well, it's interesting you were saying that, because I was saying during that time, I go, check this out. Everywhere in the world, doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, or, or whatever that is. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. It doesn't matter what nationality, what country you live in. We are all experiencing the same universal thing. And exactly what you said, it's like the universal law of attraction. It exists, right? Like gravity, it exists, but how we function with it, how we choose to relate with it. This was it being the event of shutdown, COVID, whatever you want to call it. But universally, it's like we all have this thing called the law of attraction, and how we utilize it, how we utilize this universal thing called our emotions, how we choose to utilize it will then create our own individual personal story. Just like you were saying, every single person experienced something different during that universal experience. It was a beautiful example and display of how each person really does create their own reality.
Yeah. And amplification, I hadn't heard that before in relation to that experience. But the more I'm thinking about it right now, is boy, it really did. It really amplified people's positions about so many things. I know for me, it amplified, probably much to the chagrin of those, the control system, it amplified my sovereignty. it amplified that belief that no, I'm in charge of me.
Yes. Yeah.
So it amplified so much. But I think right now we're still amplified because
Oh, yeah.
we're in we're in the US. I know there's people watching from other countries. However, the amplification of the division seems to be expanding and growing. So where do we go from here? And the concern that I have, or one of the concerns that I have for what's going on the planet right now, is the lack of a shared reality.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like I don't know how you older, I think I'm a little older than you, but when I was younger, my perception was that we pretty much shared a reality. Ice cream's good,
Mm-hmm.
Sunday drives are nice, family dinners are good. Now they're just like, someone will say something that is so very different than my perception, and I can't even understand how they got that point of view based on what I know about the experience. It's that lack of shared reality that's kind of freaking me out,
Mm.
that we see things so differently. So how does a collective work?
Compassion,
Is that
compassion. Because here's the thing. When we're divided, it's like it's me against them. So there's like the opposition, to who I am. So there's that fight or flight kind of thing, right? Someone's going to be the fight, someone's going to flee, someone's going to give up kind of thing. And right now, because everybody's on such high alert, there's this fight. And the fight is like, you need to change in order for me to be okay. And the other side's going, you need to change in order for me to be okay. So neither one is being okay. And the more the other person says their opinion or thinks what they want, it gets like even more harried and stuff. I mean, after it was interesting during 2020 when Black Lives Matter came out, for me, it was like, well, of course they matter, but
yes,
all
duh.
lives matter.
Yeah.
I did a Facebook thing and I was getting hammered for talking about a spiritual principle, and I now get it why and everything, but it was just like, I'm not racist. Why are you all calling me a racist? Like, what is happening? And so it's like we have to be so sensitive whatever we do because so many people are so hypersensitive. So the
Yeah.
solution to that is stop expecting everybody else to change in order for you to be happy, and stop giving everybody else the responsibility, or I should say the blame for how you feel or don't feel, because we all have to we create our own reality. How? By our consciousness. What's our consciousness? What we say, the words that we say, the thoughts that we think, the perspectives that we hold, the emotions that we either process or keep, and the actions that we take. So everything else, it's like how we perceive an event, like we were just talking about, will then have an effect on how I feel, which will then create a future reality. I remember during COVID, there was a moment when, everything was shut down. And I said to my husband, I miss going on a date with you. And then I was like, wait, no, that's one of those words. I did a program called Watch Your Words, and people can go to watchyourwords.com. And I did short little videos on words and phrases you absolutely want to take out of your language because they just pull you down, they bring you into lack, they create a negative momentum, right? What not to say, why, and then what to say instead. And so I miss, that's one of those words. So I caught myself saying, I miss going out on a date with you. And I went, no, okay. I really appreciate when we can go on a date together. So my husband goes, let's go right now. So we didn't go with the dog, didn't go with the kids. We just went on a park bench and in our little neighborhood and sat and talked. And he goes, okay, so what do you want to do on our date when things open? We had no idea when things are going to open, if everything, and it was going to open again. I was like, I want to go out for dinner. All right, where do you want to go for dinner? So it was like, where's your favorite restaurant? What restaurant would you want to go to? Okay, so would you want just the two of us? And I'm like, I love you and all, but we haven't seen anybody else. So let's figure another couple, right? So we we're talking about who we'd want to go with, and landed on my cousin Natalie and her husband Tim. And okay, now, and I was like, oh, I gotta go. And he's like, what's wrong? And I go, I gotta go figure out what I'm gonna wear, you know? And I was like, I was all excited to get in my closet and figure out, and I had the dress and the shoes, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready for my date, you know? So it was, and every time I walked in my closet, that outfit of what I'm gonna wear on the date when things open back up, you know, left me feeling hopeful, left me feeling excited that I'm okay right now, but I'm going to be wearing that at a restaurant with my cousin, having dinner with the couples, you know, that became my future vision. Or you can sit there and go, I miss going, is it when are the restaurants going to open? I swear I'm never going to go to a restaurant again. What, this sucks. What, you know, it's like that right there creates a totally different reality. One word.
Yeah. So important. It feels like it all comes down to sovereignty and personal responsibility.
Yes.
And when we step into that and really own that, that becomes such a beacon
It is.
for the next step. And one thing that I have found about myself, and perhaps you have too, it's probably intensified for you because you've clearly been in this for a long time. And others that are watching, you might have noticed that that internal guidance system is so honed right now, incredibly honed. In other words, I don't even have to think anymore. I just have to feel. How does that feel? How does that feel? How does that choice feel? And it's clear.
Yes.
So I think that that contrast or that amplification that the council is talking about help to amplify that which works for us.
Indeed. Exactly.
Yeah.
It is remarkable. So
I know. It's shouldn't we be taught this in kindergarten? Really, shouldn't we?
well, you know, it would be a good idea. At least I got to teach my kids that, you know, because it's important to understand about emotions. Because I was in my, you know, mid-40s and still angry at the world, and my only emotion, that's not true. I was in my mid-30s. The only emotion I would ever really let myself feel is anger. So I was fine, anger, fine, anger, you know. If I wasn't mad at him, I was mad at her. If I wasn't mad at her, I was mad at him. If I wasn't mad at them, I was, you know, I was angry at everybody until I started healing that anger and had, you know, some of the best coaches and healers and, you know, really had a lot of support and help in doing that. But thank God I was able to let all of that, this lifetime of anger just let go, so that when something happens and I need or want, or anger is there to inform me, it comes up and I'm like, oh, what? Oh, I'm not getting what I want. Someone crossed a boundary. Someone just spoke to me, and, you know, that doesn't feel good, right? It's a qualified, if you will, anger, but that doesn't have to lash out or fight against somebody else, because I'm taking my own personal responsibility. He didn't do that to me. Now I don't have to get angry at him. I could go, oh, that didn't feel good. I don't like to be talked to like that. You know, I prefer you talk to me this way instead of that, right? It's like a communication, a boundary. You know, it's a very different life because I'm with me. Whereas before, I don't know where I was, but I wasn't with me.
You were
know?
untethered. Yes. Well, how about if we bring the council in? I have lots of questions.
Okay, perfect.
So are you a conscious channel, or do you?
No, when they bring them in, I am out. So they like to say she's taking a nap. So it's kind of like this for me. When I come back in, if you were to say something that you guys talked about, I might have a recollection, like a dream, but I don't remember everything and I don't remember details. That's why celebrities like working with them, because like anonymity. So, but anyway, anyway. All right. So I'm going to go out. I'm going to bring them in. Just takes about 30 seconds.
Okay.
We are here.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really looking forward to asking some important questions. At least they're important for me.
Yes, Delight. We are happy to be with you, and we hold you and all those in the collective conversation. What would you like to ask us?
Well, we're going through some interesting times here on the planet. And one of the things I was talking with Christy about is a disappointment in the ability of this collective so far in being able to bring in leaders that are serving at a level that I feel is the highest integrity and with the greatest.
Oh, don't worry, they're coming. They're coming. They're being bred. We don't mean to interrupt, but we know you have lots of questions. So they're being bred right now. You may not have them for this particular election, but the whole world is watching, and those that are being raised right now and learning and truly becoming leaders themselves, that are seeing what not to do. Sometimes it's best to see what not to do in order to learn what to do. And so that contrast really is very valuable, because there isn't just you, there is the collective that is itching, that is irritated, that is frustrated, and that frustration wants for more, that irritation, that we've got to do better, calls out more for all of you that are also vibrating at that frustration. But here's the key for all of you as a collective, each of you individually and then collective together. It's not just one side or the other. The Democrats are going, oh my God, and the Republicans are going, oh my God. And these are the two we get to choose from. There are more out there. They are coming. They are learning as they are learning what not to do. There's so much more we can say on this, but the collective frustration, if you turn it into the clarity of what kind of candidate you want to see running the country. And you and Christy were talking about this, about someone that really has the best interest of all, not just the United States, but all the world, of humanity. Because at the bottom line, all of you are human. At the bottom line, all of you have a soul. Bottom line, all of you are non-physical energy pouring through a physical entity. And when all of you come together in your own soul connection from a place of compassion, now let's talk about that, because it's the most underutilized tool that you all have. Compassion is a state that is between lack or feeling bad and abundance, which feels expansive and good. So think of it as three different buckets or levels. First one, feeling bad, lack. That's where worry, fear, all that irritation, everything most people are feeling about the political arena in the United States right now are in there. And then you got to move into the second bucket, which is neutrality, which a lot of people are starting to feel that, wow, I really feel bad that this is our choice, and that kind of sadness. But compassion doesn't feel sad. Compassion feels, I'm okay. Compassion feels soothing. Compassion feels like, okay, this isn't the best, but we're going to get through this. But there are better skies ahead. But that compassion of, all right, I don't feel bad, but I'm not over the moon excited, because that's the third, where you're in that space of bliss, or you're in that space of joy, or you're in that space of freedom or liberation or protection or safety. That's the place where you feel, I could be who I am. I feel safe to be me. I want to express myself. So compassion, you can feel it as if a warm energy is coming through. Look at it as pink, feel it as warm, just coming to fill you up. You can also take your physical hands and do a somatic experience where you can just touch there, cleaning energy. Touch your own hands and even just comfort. You can rub your head, you can give yourself a hug, you can do a rock back and forth, or take yourself from side to side. And then there's, of course, your words. It's okay. You're okay. It's all right. Everything's going to be okay. Breathe. All is well. All really is well. There's a comfort, there's a compassion in that. But the thing is, we're not saying go have compassion for everybody else. You can't give away what you don't have. Give compassion for yourself, that you are a human being at this time watching two people that you don't respect about to lead, one or the other is about to lead the country, And your desire for better coverage, your desire for better leadership, your desire for better processes, your desire for more kindness and more love and more humanity and oneness for all is really of your divine design. All of your divine design is wholeness and oneness and success and abundance and love and support. So if all of you get back into your alignment, there'd be no need to fight.
Good point. So that leads me to the question, how did we get so out of alignment on this planet?
Well, it's kind of like this. You all have free will and choice. And it's kind of like you were left to your own devices to have free will and choice. And there's too many people that don't have practical tools to learn how to deal with something. So let's just talk about this. Universally, all of you, every human being at some time or another, and many, many times, you will feel grief. And grief is one of the most negative or not feeling good, let's say, experiences on the planet. When someone you love passes, an animal, a friend, a parent, a child, even, there are this grief. Well, that grief, it could be a grief of not being able to get out of a social situation or get out of a situation where no matter how you try or how many jobs you work, you can't seem to get yourself ahead. Or I'm being a good person and all these bad things keep happening. Those moments split people. And if they don't know how to find their way back into alignment, they get out of alignment and they get negative and they get limiting. But what we want to say about this is that to think, okay, how did we get here, is to forget about the other side, because all of that contrast, all the development, all the years of people having their own free will and choice and ideas and desires, and basically the design of life and humankind, there's also great things here too. There's a lot more people opening up to their divine design. There's more people that are mastering their own emotions. Things have improved where now mental health wasn't even talked about 5 years ago. And now people are really getting that mental health and emotional intelligence is really important, because it's like having another body. You have your mental body, you have your emotional body, your physical body, and then your energy body. And everybody's so used to taking care of maybe their physical bodies, but what about the rest of it? So you could also look that there's really good evidence of amplification of good things that have been amplified, and those that are moving in that direction will create more deepening of change. So nothing is ever all bad and nothing is ever all good, and it never has been from the dawn of time. It's polarity on this realm. When you go out of your body, there's no more polarity. But on planet Earth, in the third dimension, in your physical body, you've got polarity. If there's up, there's down, in, out, left, right, bad, good, aligned, not aligned, lack, abundance, fun, boring. You've got all lonely, connected. You've got all sides of the of everything, hot, cold, extremes of everything. And it's each of you within your own human experience where you get to decide where you are on the scale on any subject that you hold dear in your life, or any topic that you even think about furthermore.
Yeah, thank you. Things on Earth are changing so rapidly, or I see it as changing very rapidly, and it leads to a sense of uncertainty because systems are breaking down. Things are just not as stable or predictable as they used to be, which can create a lot of anxiety for humans because we're emotional creatures. We sometimes like that ability to expect what's coming, and right now we can't. We really, when I look out to the future, I can't really see ahead, which is unnerving at times.
Well, that's why you have to sit and have a connection not with a certain future that you either can or cannot see, but what you want to connect with is yourself and seeing a image in your mind of you satisfied, of you content, of you safe, of you, no matter how anything happens and shakes out, you're going to be solid. That image of you, no matter what happens, because of what I know and because of the tools I'm willing to apply, including this, I envision myself. May not know what the future looks like, but I know I choose to find my joy. And as I choose to have a good attitude, find my joy, whatever you want to call it, I am going to then see myself enjoying whatever is my life. And then the thing is that you may not know exactly who you may not be able to go, okay, let me envision a life where neither one are president, but somebody else is. But I can't envision that because these are the two. And what if this one drops out? And there's so many unknowns. If you're trying to connect with a future in order to feel okay, you're not going to feel okay. If you're trying to look for something to make you stable out there, you're never going to be stable in here. You have to find that. Things are so uncertain. I don't know what the future holds. Well, ultimately, then what do you want to know? I want to feel safe. I want to feel grounded. I want to feel connected. I want to feel abundant. I want to know that abundance is how the world was created. I want to know that success will be, because success is how energy moves in a successful fashion. And when it doesn't have resistance, that's success. I want to know that there's love and support, universe, or all the guides and all of the infinite masters and angels, and they're not going anywhere, as there is the universe. So there's never anything in the energetic realm that you could want for, because it's available and accessible to you now. And if you find that comfort and you find that grounding and you find that connection now, then you could just see yourself in a place of feeling good and having a pleasurable life experience, maybe not connecting all the details. But when you're feeling good now and you can at least connect with a picture of you laughing, enjoying your life, connect with that, and that'll settle you. The rest will fall into place. Like death, like taxes, like contrast, change, transition is inevitable. It always happens. It happened 50 years ago. It happened 100 years ago. It'll happen in 50 years from now. It'll happen in 100 years from now. It just happened from this moment to this moment. We all together just transitioned from this moment to now this moment. Now, transitions can be bigger. They could be a transition year because you've got a leader of a country changing hands, possibly, or election. It could be a coming in or out of a serious relationship. It could be transitioning out of a career, retiring, or getting into a career, or changing careers, opening up a business, opening up a second. Transition, let's just talk about parenting. Oh, if you don't like transition, right? It's always transition. Just when you think you're in a groove with a kid, all of a sudden they change into a different aspect. Chris's was just experiencing that with her 15-year-old son. What did work in connecting with him 2 weeks ago, now he's like, what's your problem, mom? So she's constantly in this flow, in this newness, because there's always transition. There's transition between each child and each phase they go through. There's a phase of high school, and then they go through a phase, if they're lucky and fortunate to go to college, and then beyond. There's the phases of walking and toddler and all of that. Everything has a phase and everything has a transition. So if you could feel that life is in the transition, and you can then get into that flow of the transition, you don't have to white knuckle it.
Thank you. Last question. How, as a collective outside of Earth, how do you see us, and do you enjoy this work that you're doing with us?
Well, this is a big question. Yes, we are always grateful that we have a willing participant and willing to do the work to clean her own stuff so that we can come in and have a pure vessel, truly, that is willing to go see ya and come through. And there are more channels being more and more open across the entire globe, and that is a privilege, because really our whole mission, we get people to say, oh, talk about what happens after the Akashic records and all these things. We could talk about that stuff, but what we're interested in is helping all of you that are here, that have chosen to be here, enjoy your ride, because it's not going to last forever. And when you really enjoy it and you're connected to your soul expands. And that was the whole purpose and the reason of this anyways. You get to just have fun with material things while you're here, and other people, and enjoy the ride. It's supposed to be a pleasurable experience. Some of you are so focused on pushing against what you don't want and avoiding more of what you don't want that you forgot to look at the pleasure, because it was when you were in the pleasure of experiencing something negative, or you got some news or something happened, and now you can't trust the pleasure. If you trust the pleasure and the pain, if you understand that the pain can actually lead to pleasure, and that pleasure it's not one or the other, it's not void one and enjoy, it's all of life, it's all of emotions, all of it has value, but how you interpret and how you choose to look at it creates your own life experience.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. Any parting words for us?
We just want to say this, and this is true on all levels. You, each of you, no matter what you've done in the past, no matter what you didn't do, no matter how many perceived mistakes you made, no matter how many accolades and successes you have, on all levels, multidimensionally, in all corners of the universe, you are infinitely loved. Be well.
Thank you.
Allow yourselves to just receive a nice downpouring of light. It's more for me as I come back into the room, but you get to just let yourself come back and just imagine you're partnering with light, letting yourself feel your soul's light all around you. How's that? Ooh, the color in the room.
That was so fun. I'm sorry you missed it.
Oh, I always get what I need, so.
It was wonderful. Tell us more about the collective. I forgot to ask that before we went to the channeling section.
So the council, they're the Divine Quantum Council of Light is their full name, if you will. They're just a high collection of ascended masters. It's not just one or 12, or they're just, and they keep bringing in. Like when my dad passed, they brought him in, and my dad was sharing his message. So they brought Wayne Dyer in before. They brought in Debbie Ford and Louise Hay before. They brought in my sister one time before too. So it's a collective consciousness.
How's Wayne Dyer doing?
Pure positive energy.
I imagine he's having a ball.
Pure positive energy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was such a good message. I'm looking forward to you seeing the video when it comes out so that you can catch up with it. But I'm sure that you got it on some level, that's for sure.
I always do. I don't know, like I said, I don't know the words or anything, but I could feel the energy, and I get the osmosis of it. It's kind of
fun. So how do you work with them? Is this, and I always wonder this about channels, do you ever just sit down and say, let's talk?
I do, yeah. What I'll do is I'll have my husband, a lot of times he'll ask a question and we'll tape it. Or now, because it's been, almost 6 years, it's been direct, but they've been with me ever since that first, moment. So we have a deep connection. I could just ask a question, receive the answer. So it's immediate, or I'll think of something and then they'll just kind of send me an image or a picture, or something will, come to me, or I'll think of something I need and it'll be right there, that kind of thing. So it's powerful. But yeah, it's changed my life. It's changed so many people's lives. So we're actually in the middle of doing, we do a meditation series. We do them live, don't do them every month, but we have different themes that we do. We have different healing groups that we have the council come in and do healing work. Because what I love about the council is they don't just talk. Their information, their wisdom is fantastic. It's shifting, it's perspective, flipping, absolutely. But then they also have healing, and they do healing work and help people move energy through their bodies. And so even me yesterday, it was interesting. My right foot got swollen and it was really hurting me, and I didn't do anything to it. And I thought, okay, it's the right side of my body. It's the masculine. Let me, I brought in the council. I allowed the energy to release, and it was still bothering me. So the council says reflexology. And there's a woman I go to. She's amazing, and definitely healer through and through. So I called her last night, got in this morning, and she put this, I don't know what on my foot, but my foot was completely numb, where she just like literally aligned everything back and then wiped up whatever it was. And I walked out of there with no pain. And
Wow.
yeah. And while she was working on me, though, I could feel my arms like shaking. So I was just letting the energy, whatever was releasing from my foot, letting it release out. And so it's just nice to be able to have that, to call in that and go, okay, council, I need a healing on this foot. What do I need to pay attention to? What am I needing to learn? And it was I had a fear about moving forward in my future, so
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So
We never stop learning.
we never do. And if we do, it's no fun, right?
It's no fun. Yeah,
No
it's all
fun
about the learning.
purpose.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I certainly have enjoyed this conversation. How do we find out more about you?
Well, you can go to watchyourwords.com. It's a 10-day free video series that, like I said, every day you get a video of what not to say, why, and what to say instead. You can go to christywhitman.com. It always has, my main website always has my upcoming events and things that we're doing. So that's the best way.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I hope you'll come back and see us again.
I'd love to. It's a great
Oh, I'd love
conversation,
to. I'd
Kimberly.
love to
it.
chat with you. We could just go deeper and do more, and I think it would be a whole lot of fun. Thank you
I
so
love
much
it.
for joining
Thank
us
you.
today. And everyone, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed this video. Coming up next, this is a good one, or you might really like this one too. Either one of them could be perfect for you. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe.